All right, so get ready because this deep dive is going to be delicious. We're heading straight to Paris to explore the city's culinary scene using this guidebook excerpt on Parisian food and dining you sent over. It's like we're about to embark on a virtual food tour, hitting up all the must-try spots and uncovering some hidden gems along the way.
Parisian food is so captivating. It goes beyond just sustenance. It's about the history, the artistry, the way even a simple meal can tell a story about the city itself.
Okay, so let's jump right into this guide. It's packed with iconic dishes and restaurant recommendations. It even has tips on how to eat healthy in a city known for its rich cuisine. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of where to eat, let's talk about what to eat. I'm particularly curious about escargot. They seem to be a staple on Parisian menus, but I've always wondered, what's the story behind these snails?
Well, escargot actually have a fascinating history. It dates all the way back to Roman times. They were considered a delicacy even then. And their popularity has endured throughout the centuries. What makes them so special is the preparation. They're typically cooked in a rich, garlicky butter sauce, often with parsley and a touch of white wine, giving them a unique, earthy flavor.
That sounds much more appealing than I imagined. I'm getting a sense that Parisian cuisine is all about taking simple ingredients and elevating them to an art form.
Exactly. And it's not just about fancy techniques. It's about using fresh, seasonal ingredients and allowing their flavors to shine. Take, for example, chocolat and boeuf bourguignon.
Oh, yeah.
These are classic examples of French comfort food, hearty stews that have been enjoyed for generations. The secret lies in the slow cooking process, which allows the flavors to meld and develop, resulting in a truly satisfying meal.
The guide also mentions a few other classic Parisian dishes that caught my eye. Quiche Lorraine, for instance. I always thought it was just a simple egg and cheese pie, but apparently there's bacon involved.
You're right. A traditional quiche Lorraine does include bacon. And that salty, smoky element actually plays a crucial role. It balances the richness of the eggs, cream, and cheese, creating a more complex flavor profile. It's a perfect example of how Parisian chefs use contrasting flavors to create harmony in a dish.
I love how a seemingly simple dish like quiche has so much thought and history behind it. And speaking of classic pairings, the guide also highlights crepes and soufflé, which seem to be quintessential Parisian treats. What's the key difference between these two for those of us who might not be familiar with them?
Imagine this. A crepe is like a blank canvas, a thin, delicate pancake that can be filled with an endless variety of sweet or savory ingredients. It's all about the filling, whether it's Nutella and bananas for a decadent dessert or ham and cheese for a satisfying lunch. A soufflé, on the other hand, is a completely different beast. It's a light, airy baked dish. It relies on egg whites for its signature puffiness. Picture a savory cloud, often filled with cheese, vegetables, or even seafood.
Wow, both sound incredible, but in very different ways. This guide is making me realize that Parisian cuisine is incredibly diverse, with options to suit every taste and occasion.
Absolutely. And that diversity is reflected in the city's dining scene, which ranges from Michelin-starred restaurants with breathtaking views of the Eiffel Tower to budget-friendly falafel stands tucked away in the charming streets of Le Marais.
Speaking of different dining experiences, the guide spends a lot of time talking about traditional Parisian bistros. I've always wondered what the vibe is like in one of those places. Is it as romantic and charming as it sounds?
Picture this. You step into a bistro, and you're immediately enveloped in a warm, inviting atmosphere. The air is filled with the murmur of conversation, the clinking of glasses, and the tantalizing aroma of classic French cooking. You might see locals enjoying a leisurely lunch of steak frites, sipping on a glass of wine, or catching up with friends over a shared plate of charcuterie. The decor is often rustic and charming, with wooden tables, vintage posters, and perhaps a chalkboard menu showcasing the day's specials.
That sounds so authentic and inviting. It's like stepping into a scene from a Parisian movie. And speaking of iconic Parisian spots, the guide also mentions two cafes that seem to be steeped in history and culture. Café de Flore and Les Deux Magots. What makes these cafes so special?
These cafes are more than just places to grab a coffee. They're cultural institutions that have played a significant role in shaping the city's artistic and intellectual landscape. Imagine sipping your espresso at the same tables, where legendary figures like Picasso, Hemingway, and Sartre once gathered, debating ideas, sharing stories, and inspiring one another.
Wow, it's incredible to think about the conversations and creative energy that must have flowed through those cafes. It makes you want to grab a seat and soak up the atmosphere, hoping for a little bit of that inspiration to rub off.
Precisely. It's about connecting with the spirit of Parisian creativity and the legacy of those who came before.
But Paris isn't just about indulging in rich, decadent food, right? I noticed the guide has a whole section on healthy eating tips, which seems like a welcome contrast to all the pastries and buttery sauces.
You're absolutely right. Paris is a city that embraces a balanced approach to food. And one of the best ways to experience that is by exploring the city's vibrant farmers markets. They're a sensory feast, bursting with colorful produce, aromatic cheeses, fresh baked bread, and more.
I love the idea of wandering through a market like Marché de Ligre, picking out colorful produce, and maybe trying some local cheese. It sounds like a sensory experience in itself.
It absolutely is. It's about engaging with local producers,
Oh, right.
learning about their craft, and discovering unique ingredients you won't find in a supermarket.
It's a reminder that healthy eating can be just as exciting and flavorful as indulging in richer dishes.
Exactly. And the guide points out that these markets are a great source for fresh, seasonal ingredients, which is key to enjoying Parisian cuisine at its best.
Now, let's be honest. A trip to Paris wouldn't be complete without indulging in some of those iconic pastries and buttery sauces. But it's great to know that there are plenty of options for finding fresh, healthy food as well. It seems like Paris truly offers something for everyone.
That's what makes Parisian cuisine so captivating. It's a harmonious blend of tradition, innovation, and a deep respect for quality ingredients.
I'm already feeling inspired to plan my own culinary adventure through Paris. This guide is like a treasure map leading to all the best spots.
And remember, every dish tells a story. Every neighborhood has its own culinary identity. And every meal is an opportunity to experience the heart and soul of Paris.
Okay, so we've talked about the classics like escargots and steak frites. We've explored the charming world of Parisian bistros and even uncovered some healthy eating tips. This guidebook is full of surprises, but I'm curious to dig a little deeper into some of the more specific restaurant recommendations. There's one that caught my eye, Bouillon Pigalle in Montmartre. It sounds like a step back in time.
Bouillon Pigalle is a fantastic example of a Parisian bouillon. These were traditionally working-class restaurants, offering simple, affordable meals. Imagine like bustling dining rooms with red checkered tablecloths, waiters rushing around with platters of steaming food. They were a staple of Parisian life for decades, and recently they've seen a huge resurgence in popularity.
So it's like getting a taste of Parisian history along with your meal. I love that. And speaking of history, what about Michelin-starred restaurants? The guide mentions a few. And I have to admit, I'm a bit intimidated by the whole Michelin star concept. What exactly does it mean? And is it worth the hype?
Well, the Michelin star system is essentially a rating system.
Yeah.
It's used by the Michelin Guide to identify restaurants offering exceptional cuisine. 1 star signifies a very good restaurant in its category. 2 stars mean excellent cooking worth a detour. And the coveted 3 stars are reserved for exceptional cuisine worth a special journey. It's all about the quality of the ingredients, the mastery of technique, the harmony of flavors, and the overall dining experience.
So it's not just about fancy decor and expensive ingredients. It's about the artistry and passion that goes into creating a truly memorable meal.
Exactly. Michelin-starred restaurants are a celebration of culinary excellence. And while they can be pricey, many offer lunch menus or prefix options that are more accessible.
That's good to know. Maybe I'll have to treat myself to a Michelin-starred experience on my next trip to Paris. But let's not forget about the more casual side of Parisian dining. I'm intrigued by Elez du Falafel in Le Marais. It's a falafel spot, but the guide makes it sound like so much more than just a quick bite.
Elez du Falafel is a legendary spot in Le Marais, and its popularity speaks to the multicultural influences that have shaped Parisian cuisine. Paris isn't just about French food. It's a melting pot of flavors from around the world.
That's what makes a city like Paris so exciting. It's a place where different cultures and cuisines collide, creating something new and delicious. It's reminding me that I need to expand my culinary horizons beyond the typical French dishes I usually think of.
Exactly. And this guide encourages you to embrace that diversity, to explore different neighborhoods and try dishes from different cultures. It's all part of the Parisian culinary adventure.
Speaking of adventure, let's talk drinks. The guide mentions traditional Parisian drinks, and of course there's wine. But one that caught my eye was the hot chocolate at Angelina near the Louvre. I have a serious sweet tooth, and this sounds right up my alley.
Angelina is a Parisian institution, and their hot chocolate is legendary. It's thick, rich, intensely chocolatey, and served in a beautiful setting. It's less a drink and more a decadent dessert.
That sounds divine. But what about those who prefer something a little less intense? I noticed the guide also mentions cider, which I usually associate with Normandy.
You're right. Cider is a specialty of Normandy, but it's enjoyed throughout France and in Paris. You'll often find it paired with crepes. Imagine a crisp, refreshing cider alongside a warm, buttery crick. It's a delightful combination.
It's making me want to plan a whole trip around trying all these different drinks and food pairings. But let's get back to the healthy eating tips for a moment. We talked about farmers markets, but I'm curious about the guide's suggestion to check out salad bars. Are they really a thing in Paris?
Salad bars are definitely a thing in Paris, and you'll find some incredibly creative and flavorful options. Forget your typical lettuce and tomato affair. These salads feature interesting cheeses, nuts, fruits, and unique dressings. It's all about fresh, seasonal ingredients prepared with care.
The guide specifically mentions salade niçoise. What's in that exactly?
Salade niçoise is a classic French salad that originated in Nice on the French Riviera. Picture this: a bed of fresh lettuce, topped with tomatoes, hard-boiled eggs, olives, anchovies, and tuna, all drizzled with a light vinaigrette. It's a refreshing and satisfying meal, perfect for a warm day.
That sounds delicious and surprisingly healthy. It's making me realize that eating well in Paris doesn't have to mean sacrificing flavor or enjoyment.
Exactly. And for those who prefer plant-based meals, the guide recommends checking out restaurants like Le Potage du Marais and Wild in the Moon. They offer innovative vegetarian and vegan dishes that showcase fresh, seasonal ingredients.
It's great to know that Paris is embracing vegetarian and vegan cuisine. It seems like the city is really evolving with the times while still holding on to its culinary traditions.
Absolutely. Parisian cuisine is constantly evolving, incorporating new influences and ideas while staying true to its roots.
Okay, so we've talked about Michelin-starred restaurants and casual falafel stands, indulged in decadent hot chocolate, and even explored healthy options like salad bars and vegetarian restaurants. It's clear that Parisian cuisine is incredibly diverse and multifaceted, but there's one thing I'm still curious about: the whole concept of portion control. The guide mentions it, and I've heard that Parisians tend to eat smaller portions than we do in the U.S. Is that true, and what's the reasoning behind it?
It's true that portion sizes in Paris tend to be smaller than what you might find in other parts of the world. And there's a cultural philosophy behind it. It's about savoring each bite, appreciating the quality of the ingredients, and enjoying the dining experience without feeling overstuffed.
So it's not about deprivation. It's about mindful eating and enjoying food in a way that's both satisfying and healthy.
Precisely. And it encourages you to slow down, to engage with the food, and to truly appreciate the flavors and textures of each dish.
That's a refreshing perspective, especially in a world where we're often rushing through meals and multitasking. It's making me think about how I can incorporate that mindfulness into my own eating habits.
It's a valuable lesson to learn from Parisian culture. Food is meant to be enjoyed, savored, and appreciated.
And what better place to do that than in Paris, a city that celebrates the art of dining like no other?
Absolutely. Paris is a city that invites you to slow down, to indulge your senses, and to discover the joy of good food and good company.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. From snails to salad bars, Michelin stars to cider pairings. It's been a whirlwind tour of Parisian flavors. But there's one aspect of the guidebook we haven't touched on yet: souvenirs. What are some edible treasures someone could bring back from Paris to capture those delicious memories?
Souvenirs. A perfect way to extend the Parisian experience. And when it comes to edible treats, you're spoiled for choice. Of course, you can't go wrong with macarons. Those delicate, colorful cookies are a classic for a reason.
I have to admit, I'm a bit obsessed with macarons. But I'm also intrigued by the guide's recommendation to pick up gourmet mustard from May. Mustard as a souvenir. Tell me more.
May is a Parisian institution with a history dating back to the 18th century. They offer an incredible variety of mustards, from classic Dijon to unique flavors like black truffle and Chablis white wine. It's a souvenir that's both unique and delicious.
I love that idea. It's definitely a step up from the typical tourist trinkets. And speaking of delicious souvenirs, we can't forget about chocolate. Paris is renowned for its chocolatiers, and this guidebook highlights a few standouts.
When it comes to chocolate in Paris, you have two amazing options: the classic and the avant-garde. For a taste of tradition, La Maison du Chocolat is a must-visit. Their chocolates are elegant, refined, and made with the finest ingredients. Think like perfectly balanced ganache and rich, decadent truffles.
That sounds like my kind of chocolate heaven. But what about the avant-garde side?
For something a little more unconventional, you have to check out Patrick Roget. He's a true artist, creating chocolates that are as visually stunning as they are delicious. His creations often incorporate unexpected flavors and textures. Imagine like a chocolate sculpture filled with praline, or a bonbon with a surprising hint of spice. It's a chocolate experience that's both playful and sophisticated.
Wow. I'm already adding both of those chocolatiers to my must-visit list. But before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one last thing I'd love to get your insights on. The guidebook mentions a few points about dining etiquette in Paris. Are there any unspoken rules or customs that a visitor should be aware of?
Dining etiquette is an important part of any culture, and Paris is no exception. It's all about showing respect for the food, the establishment, and your fellow diners. One key thing to remember is that reservations are essential, especially for popular restaurants. It's considered good manners to call ahead or book online to ensure you have a table.
That makes sense. It shows that you value their time and effort. And what about greetings? Is there a specific way to address the staff?
When you enter a restaurant or cafe, always greet the staff with a friendly bonjour or bonsoir, depending on the time of day. It's a simple gesture that goes a long way in establishing a positive rapport.
It's all about those little courtesies that make a big difference. And once you're seated, are there any table manners to be aware of?
Of course. Basic table manners are always important. Try to avoid talking loudly. Keep your elbows off the table. And use your utensils properly. It shows that you respect the dining experience.
And what about tipping? Is it customary in Paris?
A service charge is usually included in the bill, but it's customary to leave a small additional tip, around 5 to 10%, if you've had particularly good service.
It's good to know those nuances. Anything else about the dining experience that might surprise a visitor?
One thing that often surprises visitors is the pace of dining. In Paris, meals are meant to be savored. Don't feel rushed to finish your food. Take your time. Enjoy the conversation. And embrace the leisurely atmosphere.
It's a reminder that dining in Paris is about more than just fueling up. It's about enjoying the moment, the company, and the artistry of the food.
Exactly. It's a chance to slow down, to appreciate the finer things in life, and to immerse yourself in the Parisian way of life.
Okay, so we've covered everything from iconic dishes and hidden gems to dining etiquette and edible souvenirs. I have to say I'm feeling incredibly inspired to plan my own Parisian culinary adventure. What's your biggest takeaway from all of this?
For me, it's the reminder that Parisian food is about more than just fancy restaurants and Michelin stars. It's about the simple pleasures. A perfectly baked croissant from a local boulangerie, a picnic lunch in a park, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling a cafe. It's about those everyday moments that make Paris so magical.
It's about embracing the Parisian way of life, slowing down, savoring the moment, and appreciating the beauty in the everyday.
Precisely. And this guidebook encourages you to do just that, to explore, to discover, and to create your own unique Parisian food story.
Well said. And on that note, I have one last question for you and for our listeners. If you were planning a trip to Paris, what one thing would you absolutely have to try, and where would you go to experience it?
That's a tough one. There's so many tempting options, but I think I'd have to go for a classic. Steak frites at a traditional bistro. There's something so satisfying about that combination. The perfectly cooked steak, the crispy fries, the cozy atmosphere. It's a true taste of Paris.
I love that. A classic for a reason, and it makes me want to book a flight right now.
Well, if you do, be sure to send me a postcard. Or maybe some of that gourmet mustard.
Deal. All right, listeners, that's a wrap on our Parisian culinary deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this delicious journey as much as we have. And if this episode has sparked your wanderlust, be sure to check out the show notes for links to the guidebook and all the places we've discussed.
And remember, the next time you find yourself in Paris, take a moment to savor the flavors, embrace the atmosphere, and create your own unforgettable culinary memories.
Until next time, bon appétit!